Model 11:40 PM， 这是一篇富有哲理与中医智慧的文章。以下是为您翻译的英文版本。Does a refined woman sweat? Does a refined woman sweat? This question sounds a bit strange, even somewhat offensive. Yet, if you have ever watched an elegant woman walking toward you on a summer afternoon, noticing that she is neither flushed nor drenched in sweat, but instead radiates an indescribable sense of freshness and composure, you might find yourself wondering, where does this state come from? In our era, our understanding of temperament, or qi, often remains at a superficial level. People assume that temperament is built with skincare products constructed through fashion sense, or crafted as a visual effect by high-end restaurants, luxury handbags, and meticulous filters. Consequently, the market is flooded with countless guides on how to look refined, teaching you how to stand, how to dress, and how to speak. Yet no one has ever told you that true temperament is a state of life that emanates from within, and sweat is the most honest expression of this state. Today, this article will explore temperament from a perspective you may have never considered. From the Tao of heaven and earth in the I Ching Book of Changes to the TCM theory of qi circulation through the analysis of BaZi, 4 pillars of destiny constitutions, and down to the daily alignment with solar terms and the wisdom of the 12 Chinese double Jan hours, we will present a comprehensive cognitive framework for temperament and vitality. This is not just a beauty secret, it is a philosophy of life that helps you understand your body, align with natural rhythms, and live with texture from the inside out. Let us first correct a deeply ingrained misconception. Many people believe that a refined woman does not sweat. Where does this impression come from? It comes from the images of aristocracy in movies, the everlasting perfect makeup on magazine covers, and a collective imagination of elegance, as if sweating were synonymous with being crude, improper, or unrefined. Consequently, some women desperately use antiperspirants, wishing they could block every sweat gland, thinking that this would bring them closer to the ideal of being elegantly sweat-free. But this is a fundamental error in perception. A truly refined woman is not one who does not sweat, but one whose sweat has a different quality and state. This distinction is fundamental. The I Ching tells us that the human body is a small universe. Between heaven and earth, qi circulates, seasons shift, and all things undergo metabolism. This is the most basic operating law of the universe. As a microcosm of heaven and earth, the human body follows these same laws of circulation and metabolism. Sweat is one of the most direct and visible expressions of this metabolism. The Huangdi Neijing Yellow Emperor's inner canon states, "The addition of yang to yin is called sweat." The production of sweat is the result of yang energy pushing yin fluid to spread outward. It is a sign of normal qi circulation. For a person full of vitality and with smooth qi circulation, sweating under appropriate conditions is a completely normal and even healthy manifestation. The issue is not whether or not to sweat, but under what state do you sweat? What is the quality of the sweat? And do you feel refreshed or exhausted after sweating? A truly refined woman feels refreshed and light after sweating. It is that radiant, bright, and complexioned state of skin after exercise. Those who appear not to sweat are sometimes in a state of stagnant qi. Their yang energy is too weak to drive metabolism, resulting in an inability to sweat when they should, and an inability to dissipate heat when they need to. This is a sign of poor temperament and weak vitality, not elegance. Therefore, the first subversion of our cognition is, stop aiming to not sweat, and instead pursue a state of sweating with rhythm and feeling refreshed afterwards. This is the first physical code of temperament. To truly understand temperament, one must first understand the word itself. Temperament, or qi in Chinese, is not a modern term. It is one of the core concepts in the Chinese traditional philosophy and medical system, composed of 2 characters, qi and ji, each carrying profound meaning. Qi is the motive force and energy that cannot be seen or touched. In traditional Chinese thought, qi is the fundamental element of all things in the universe, the internal drive for life, and the information and energy flowing between heaven and earth. Qi in the human body takes various forms, such as original qi, ancestral qi, nutritive qi, and defensive qi, each performing its own function to maintain life. When qi is abundant, bodily functions are active, metabolism is smooth, and the spirit is high. When qi is deficient, functions are low, metabolism is sluggish, and the spirit is listless. Qi is the material carrier that can be seen and touched. At the level of the human body, qi includes physique, skin texture, the quality of voice, the quality of complexion, and the overall material characteristics perceived in a person. The quality of Qi directly affects how a person presents externally. Temperament is the unity of Qi and Qi. Qi determines the state of Qi, and Qi reflects the quality of Qi. A person with abundant Qi and excellent Qi will naturally manifest a sense of temperament that is pleasing to both the eye and the spirit, not maintained through force, but flowing naturally from within. Within this framework, the role of sweat becomes exceptionally clear. Sweat is the honest mirror of the state of Qi in the human body. Why is it an honest mirror? Because sweat does not lie. You can use foundation to cover dull skin, use perfume to mask body odor, and use training to correct your posture. But you cannot fake the state of sweat. The quantity of sweat, the timing of sweating, the odor of the sweat, and the physical feeling after sweating. All these faithfully record the true state of Qi circulation within you. Sweat reflects 3 levels of life information. First, the strength of vitality. Those with abundant Qi sweat vigorously and feel refreshed. Those with deficient Qi sweat weakly and feel exhausted. Second, the degree of Qi circulation. Those with smooth circulation have uniform, clear, and slightly salty sweat. Those with stagnant circulation have uneven, sticky, or turbid sweat. Third, the balance of yin and yang. Those in balance sweat during normal daytime activity and remain dry during quiet sleep. Those in imbalance may suffer from spontaneous sweating, frequent night sweats, or a failure to sweat when they should. Therefore, when you start to observe your sweat, you are actually engaging in a deep conversation with your body, an honest dialogue about the current state of your vitality. Having understood the relationship between sweat and Qi circulation, we can move into a more specific analysis. How do different states of sweating reflect issues with Qi circulation, and how do they impact one's temperament? State E, spontaneous sweating due to Qi deficiency. This refers to sweating naturally and continuously without obvious triggers, such as exercise or high temperatures, accompanied by noticeable fatigue, shortness of breath, and weakness. This sweat is often cold. You do not feel refreshed, but rather more exhausted, sometimes accompanied by palpitation or dizziness. The root cause is yang deficiency. Yang energy is the body's power of consolidation, responsible for keeping fluids within the body. When yang is insufficient, this consolidation weakens, and sweat seeps out uncontrollably. From the perspective of temperament, those who suffer from this often project a scattered presence. Their voices are soft, their steps are hesitant, their eyes lack focus. They represent a drifting state of being. No matter how exquisite their clothing, it is difficult to project an inward, powerful temperament. This is not a character flaw, it is an external projection of the body's energy state. Spontaneous sweating is one of the most direct physical causes of a lack of temperament. State R, night sweats due to yin deficiency. This refers to profuse sweating during sleep that stops upon waking, often accompanied by 5-palm heat, heat in the palms, soles, and chest, dry mouth and throat, and restlessness. Yin is the collective term for the nutritive fluids and blood within the body. Yin deficiency means a deficit in these nourishing substances. When yin fluid is insufficient, it cannot effectively restrain yang. During the night, when yin energy should be dominant, yang becomes relatively hyperactive, forcing sweat out. This is the night sweat. People prone to night sweats often lack a hydrated quality in their skin, presenting a dry and withered texture. Their eyes may be bright, but it is a nervous brightness. Their speech may be sharp, but it carries a heat. The overall impression they give is a state of excessive burning. They may have passion and energy, but they lack that calm, moist, and reassuring quality. True temperament requires a balance of yin and yang. Yin is the base color of temperament, that calm, gentle, and comfortable quality derived from the abundance of yin fluid. Night sweats erode this very foundation. State Sen, healthy sweating. This refers to sweating naturally under appropriate conditions, exercise, high temperatures, relaxed emotions, with rhythm, clear, and slightly salty sweat, leaving one feeling light, refreshed, and with a bright complexion. This sweat is a manifestation of smooth Qi circulation and the balance of yin and yang. The Huangdi Neijing describes this as a state where righteous Qi is stored within, and pathogens cannot invade. When the body's positive energy is abundant and circulating smoothly, metabolic wastes can be successfully expelled through sweat, keeping the body in a clean and transparent state. People who possess this state of sweating often project the most captivating temperament. Skin is radiant, the complexion is vivid, the body is light, and movements are natural. This is not an effect that cosmetics can replicate, it is the quality of life from the inside out. Therefore, pursuing temperament means pursuing this state of healthy sweating, keeping qi circulation smooth, metabolism active, and the body functioning in its most natural and harmonious way. In Chinese traditional culture, BaZi 8 characters is not merely a tool for predicting destiny. It is a subtle system for understanding an individual's constitution and energy characteristics. Among the 8 characters, the elemental water, Ren water, and Gui water has a profound correspondence with human metabolism, skin texture, and sweating characteristics. Ren water, known as Great water, is the image of the vast ocean and rushing rivers. Its quality is dynamic, external, and macrodzan level. At the bodily level, those with abundant Ren water often have a more active metabolism and vigorous blood circulation. Their bodies are capable of strong heat production, so they tend to sweat easily, and the sweat volume is often larger. This is not a defect, but a manifestation of abundant energy. People with abundant Ren water often feel more refreshed after sweating. That sense of release after vigorous exercise is the very embodiment of smooth qi circulation and active metabolism. Their temperament tends to be bright, charismatic, and full of vital energy. Gui water, known as rain and dew, is the image of fine rain dew and spring water. Its quality is convergent, subtle, and introverted. At the bodily level, those with abundant Gui water often have finer skin texture, metabolism that leans toward the introverted, and they may not sweat profusely. However, their skin has a strong ability to retain moisture, often presenting a texture as moist and delicate as jade. Their temperament tends to be introverted, exquisite, and intriguing, not the type of bright, clear, jan-cut character that can be seen through at a glance, but a depth that is felt more intensely the closer you get. Of course, BaZi constitutional analysis goes far beyond water elements. The relationship between metal and water is another important dimension for understanding sweating states. In the relationship of the 5 elements, metal generates water, but when metal is overly strong, it can restrain the normal flow of water, leading to stagnant qi circulation. The state of metal jan overwhelming jan water manifests physically as blocked qi circulation and disordered water metabolism, often resulting in sweat that is sticky, turbid, or carries an odor. From the perspective of temperament, this sweat is heavy. It carries metabolic waste and turbidity accumulated in the body. It is a manifestation of a stagnant, opaque energy state. A heavy energy field is the most direct influence on temperament caused by this type of constitutional imbalance. Such people often give others an impression of being somewhat heavy or oppressive in social interactions. Even with exquisite outward appearance, they struggle to project the light and comfortable temperament that makes others feel at ease. Regulating the relationship between metal and water and unblocking qi stagnation is the fundamental direction for such people to improve their temperament. This is not a problem that can be solved by perfume. It requires starting from constitutional adjustment and fundamentally changing the state of qi operation. In traditional Chinese medicine and feng shui philosophy, the human body is not a homogeneous whole, but a precise map. Different parts correspond to different organs, meridians, and energy fields. The sites where you sweat are also important codes for interpreting bodily information. Head sweat is the first important signal on this map. The head is known in TCM as the convergence of all yang meridians, the core area where yang energy gathers. The center of the forehead corresponds to the heavenly court Tianting in feng shui, the area where a person's spirit and energy focus. When a person frequently sweats profusely on the head, especially on the forehead, while sweating little elsewhere, it often reflects a state of upper heat and lower cold, or scattering of heart qi. Yang energy should be evenly distributed throughout the body. When it is excessively concentrated in the head, it indicates that the overall qi distribution is unbalanced, and yang cannot descend to warm the lower jiao lao burner, but instead floats upward to gather at the head and face. From the perspective of temperament, such people are often prone to impatience. They find it difficult to settle down. Their thinking is active, but they lack resolve, and they are prone to doing things that lack follow jan through. The instability of the qi field at the heavenly court affects not only physical health, but also the ability to focus the spirit, a capacity that is exactly the core of temperament. Hand sweat is the second signal. The hand is the endpoint of the pericardium meridian and the heart meridian in the human body map. It is also the primary medium through which a person interacts with the external world and establishes boundaries. Frequent hand sweat often reflects inner anxiety and insecurity. The pericardium meridian governs acting on behalf of the heart. When a person is in a state of long-term anxiety, tension, or stress, the pericardium meridian is the first to be affected, and one of the most direct expressions of this is hand sweat. From the perspective of temperament, those who frequently have sweaty hands often lack a sense of boundary in interpersonal relationships. The lack of boundaries leads one to fall into constant emotional depletion, being too easily influenced by the emotions of others, and finding it difficult to hold one's own energy field. In this state, the stability of one's temperament is hard to maintain, as the inner sense of tranquility is constantly shaken by external interference. Building inner security and adjusting the state of the pericardium meridian is the fundamental path to improving hand sweat and establishing the boundaries of temperament. Axillary sweat, armpit sweat, is the third signal. The axilla is an important area for the liver meridian. The liver governs dredging and dispersing shakti, responsible for regulating the smooth flow of qi throughout the body, especially the guidance and release of emotions. When the dredging function of the liver meridian has problems, the armpits are often among the first areas to show abnormalities. Insufficient dredging stagnation leads to stagnation of qi. Axillary sweating may be reduced or absent. Qi cannot be released, making emotions prone to suppression, and suppressed emotions lead to outbursts. The energy field of such people often gives others a sense of holding something back, calm on the surface, but with a stifling tension within. Excessive dredging leads to profuse axillary sweating, often with a distinct sour odor. Emotions become easily irritable, and self-control is poor. The energy field of such people often gives others a sense of being too full or too aggressive, creating an invisible pressure when approached. True temperament requires the liver's dredging to be just right, neither congested nor overactive. The flow of qi is like a clear spring, steady, clear, and powerful. Under this state, the armpits will show moderate sweating, clear and odorless, a manifestation of smooth liver qi and emotional balance. Having understood the relationship between sweat and qi and the information carried by sweat in different parts of the body, the next topic is how to align with the rhythms of heaven and earth, allowing the body's metabolism and sweating to return to its most natural and harmonious state. Here we must introduce two of the most important time frameworks in traditional Chinese culture, the Arsa solar terms and the Shur Chinese double-gen hours. The solar terms are key milestones in the shifting of yin and yang between heaven and earth. Each term corresponds to a major shift in the universe's energy field, and the human body, as a microcosm, should adjust accordingly. Summer solstice, Shaji, is the apex of yang energy in the year. At this time, the yang energy of heaven and earth is at its peak, and the body's yang follows suit. Profuse sweating is the most natural bodily response at this time. Sweating is a process of expelling turbidity, a way for the metabolic waste accumulated during winter and spring to be discharged outward. The Huangdi Neijing advises for summer health. Let the qi be released, as if what is loved is outside. Allow the qi to flow outward, following the celestial path of yang expansion, rather than forcibly blocking it. Therefore, moderate sweating around the summer solstice is not a lack of temperament, but a life wisdom that follows the Tao of heaven. Forcibly stopping sweat or avoiding exercise during this period is an act that defies the Tao of heaven, leading to the accumulation of turbid qi within the body, setting the stage for future health problems. Autumnal equinox Qufan is an important turning point where yin energy begins to dominate. The energy of heaven and earth shifts from expansion to contraction. The body's maintenance direction should likewise shift from release to collection. Sweating should gradually decrease, skin pores begin to contract, and the body's yang energy begins to retreat inward. The key to health at this time is to follow this trend of contraction, reduce excessive physical exertion, and avoid profuse sweating. Because excessive sweating at this time runs counter to the celestial trend of contraction, easily consuming yang energy and creating a loss in the reservoir of health for winter. Winter solstice Dongji is the moment when yin energy is at its peak, but it is also the starting point of yang rebirth. The core of health maintenance is to conceal yang and nourish yin, hiding yang in the deepest places while nourishing yin to accumulate energy for the sprouting of spring. In the health practices of the winter solstice, foot soaking is a classic and effective method. Soaking feet in hot water guides the floating, vacuous yang downward, allowing yang to return to the kidney meridian while promoting blood circulation in the lower limbs. The thin film of sweat that appears after soaking is a manifestation of yang being guided downward and qi being unblocked. It is a healthy, natural sweat that aligns with the season, carrying an energetic significance distinct from the detoxifying sweat of the summer solstice. Within the framework of the Shar Chinese double-jian hours, the management of sweat also follows precise laws. The hour of the rat zishi, from Sawu Shidan to Shangwu Yidan, is the time when yin is at its peak and yang begins to stir. It is also the most critical period for deep sleep. During this time, the body should be in a state of complete stillness and rest. One should not sweat. If someone sweats during this time, it often reflects a problem of heart and kidney disharmony and yin-jan-yang imbalance, a health signal that must be taken seriously. The hour of the tiger yinshi from Shangwu Senden to Shangwu Wudan is when the lung meridian is in charge. The lungs govern the skin and hair. They govern the dispersion of energy. At this time, the lung meridian's qi and blood are at their peak, and the body's skin naturally produces a light sweat. This is a normal physiological manifestation of the lungs, dispersing the defensive qi and regulating skin temperature. It is a manifestation of normal lung qi operation. If sweat is excessive during this time, it may suggest weak lung qi or an unstable defensive qi. If there is no sweat at all, it may suggest insufficient dispersal of lung qi and limited elasticity in the skin pores. The hour of the rabbit maoshi, from Shangwu Wudan to Shangwu Qidan, is when the large intestine meridian is in charge, the best time for the body to expel turbidity. The I Ching and TCM emphasize that this is the moment when the yang energy of heaven and earth first rises and the earth begins to activate. The body's qi at this time is best suited for outward release. Appropriate morning exercise or natural activities upon waking help promote the smooth flow of qi during this hour, leading to a moderate cleansing sweat. This entire timing system contains a core philosophy derived from the Tao Te, Ching, reduce, and reduce again until you reach the state of Wu Wei, non-Jan action. The meaning of this in health maintenance is, do not violate natural laws, do not forcibly intervene in the body's natural rhythm, but keep subtracting those behaviors and interventions that violate nature, eventually returning to the body's original harmonious state. This state of non-Jan action is not about doing nothing, but about allowing everything to follow nature and happen spontaneously. The same applies to the management of sweat. It is not about forcibly stopping sweat, nor about forcibly inducing sweat, but about creating the conditions for the body to return to its original rhythm, sweating fully when you should, naturally contracting when you should, releasing smoothly when you should, deeply settling when you should. Follow the Tao of heaven, follow the hours, follow the body's own wisdom. Having walked this far, we can look back and read and examine the word temperament. Temperament is not a luxury good. It is not an LV handbag, an Herm phase scarf, or anything that top-jan tier creams can provide. These external decorations can manufacture a visual effect for a short time, but they cannot replace the luster of the essence of life. True temperament is the natural flow that occurs when inner qi is in sync with nature. It is the quality from the inside out that appears naturally when the body is in a state of health, balance, and flow. The radiance of the skin, the focus in the eyes, the depth of the voice, the composure of movement, and the stability of presence. None of this is practiced. It is the natural overflow of abundant vitality and harmonious qi circulation. Sweat is the most honest mirror of this state of life. When your sweat is rhythmical and refreshing, your qi is flowing. When your sweat is sticky, turbid, and exhausting, your qi is telling you that something needs adjustment. From the perspective of the small universe of the I Ching, everyone is a microcosm of heaven and earth, resonating with the rhythms of the universe. When we align with these rhythms, following the shifts of solar terms, the flow of the hours, and the metabolic rhythms inherent to the body, we are returning to the original harmonious self. And this is the deepest root of temperament. It is not about what you wear, but how you live. It is not about what products you use, but how your body resonates with heaven and earth. True wisdom is learning how to listen. Listen to the rhythms of heaven and earth, listen to the changes in nature, and listen to the subtle signals of every part of your body. Those signals are never there to make things difficult for you. They are there to tell you how to return to the most harmonious and vital state. The I Ching features a core concept called time Jan centrality, Shizhong, to do the right thing at the right time, in the right state, neither too early nor too late, neither too much nor too little, just right. There is no better way to describe temperament: sweat fully when it is time to sweat, naturally contract when it is time to contract, release smoothly when it is time to release, and settle deeply when it is time to settle. This state of time Jian centrality is the highest realm of temperament. Another core concept of the I Ching, central Jian righteousness Zhong, requires us to maintain inner level Jian headedness and the middle way in any situation, to remain unagitated by external excitement, to remain uncollapsed under external pressure, and to maintain that inner stability and composure. This central Jian righteousness reflected in the body is the balance of qi reflected in temperament. It is that sense of presence that makes others feel comfortable and secure, regardless of the environment. Temperament is the self-Jian reflection of life. It is an individual's listening to their own body, their alignment with natural rhythms, and the continuous adjustment and calibration of the relationship between the inner and outer self. It is not something that can be gained overnight, but it is not the exclusive privilege of the few. It is a quality of life that can be gradually cultivated by anyone willing to settle down, return to their body, and align with the Tao of heaven. From today on, try changing one tiny perception. The next time you see yourself sweating, stop judging it as improper or unrefined. Instead, ask yourself, what is the state of this sweat? Do I feel refreshed or exhausted after sweating? What information about my body is this sweat telling me? When you start to converse with your body in this way, you have already set foot on the path of cultivating true temperament, because temperament is never a performance for others, but an eternal, quiet, and profound inner reflection and harmony between you, yourself, and the universe.